They say the Wild West died with time, but that's a lie. The West doesn't die. It sleeps silently under the dust, waiting for someone to wake it. And when it wakes, it demands it. I'm Elias Blackthorn. I was sheriff of a town that no longer exists on the map if it ever did. Red Hollow, a land so forgotten that even the ghosts forgot to leave. I've walked paths that lead nowhere. I've held men who never bled. I've stared into eyes that shouldn't be in human faces. And now, all that tell for me to do is tell you. Tell what I saw, what I heard, what I chased in the dark. Why these stories? They haunt me. They call me through the whispers of the wind, and every time someone listens, it's like I breathe again. I don't know if I'm dead, but I know I'm trapped. Trapped between what I was and what I'll never be again. And if you're listening, you've already crossed a line that no one should cross. Welcome to nowhere. I'm the sheriff who never dies. And this is just the first story. It was that very night, after the last sigh of the wind, that I saw him. A saloon, at the end of a street that should no longer exist. The windows were fogged up inside, as if someone was still breathing. The sign swung on a rusty hook, creaking like a warning. I should have moved on. But when you carry too much guilt, there are places that pull you in. The doors opened on their own. No loud creaking. They just opened. I reached in with my hand, on the handle of my revolver. It was dark, but not completely dark. The light seemed to come from a lamp that no one had lit. The floor creaked beneath my boots. Spurs scraped old wood. Everything was still: dusty tables, overturned chairs, a still full glass on the counter, a sweet, rotten smell, like a wilted flower with dried blood. There was a clock on the bar, stopped 3:13, and I don't know why, but it chilled me to the bone. There was a painting in the corner, an old portrait, but the painting was strange, not blurred, not blurry, too vivid dot, as if the guy there had just taken a breath. I got closer. With each step, the saloon responded with groans of ancient, haunted wood, wood creaking, ceiling creaking, a low hiss of something moving without form. 3 more frames, then 5. Everyone seemed to be looking at me, some with faded smiles, others with sunken, sad eyes. One of them was a woman. Her face was turned away, but her eyes followed mine, blinked, and when I looked again, the portrait had changed. Her head was turned in my direction. I froze. My hand was still on the handle of the revolver, but I knew there was no point in pulling any weapon there. On the counter, the glass clinked. Alone. I spoke in a low voice. "Who's there?" But the saloon only returned the sound of my question, like an echo from the bottom of a well. I took a deep breath. The air was thicker now. The walls seemed to close in, closer, as if the place were waking up or testing me. And then I heard a single note from a piano, slow, hoarse, as if the strings had been plucked by dead fingers. It was too late to leave. The saloon wanted me there, and I had already entered. The sound of the piano stopped as suddenly as it had started. The note died in the air, but it left something with me. I felt like someone was staring at me from the counter. But when I turned around, nobody, just the glass, still whole, but closer than before. I took 2 steps back. The wood groaned beneath my boots, but the bar groaned too, as if it were breathing. The walls creaked loudly, not from wind or weather, but as if someone were moving within them. I looked at the portraits again, and I swear on everything I have left of my soul, one of them was smiling. Not just any smile. It was bitter, sad, cynical. And then I heard a chair scrape. I quickly glanced toward the back of the saloon. Dark. But there was a figure, or maybe just my fear. A faint, repeated sound, like footsteps light barefoot. I drew my revolver. Aiming gave me the illusion of control. But there, in that place, even the bullets seemed to have already died. A noise behind me, quick, a whisper very close to my ear. You're back. I turned around in a second. Nothing, just the mirror behind the bar, cracked, and in the reflection, someone was sitting at my table. But when he turned around again, the table was empty. But in the glass there were 2 fingers of whiskey and a lip print on the edge. I knew something there was testing me. But what really started to break me were the portraits, hanging on the crooked walls. Their frames cracked. They seemed to age and breathe along with the place. And the more I looked, the more certain I became. They weren't just watching me. They were waiting. I walked slowly along the left wall. A man with a crooked beard and sunken eyes. A faint smile at the corners of his mouth. When I blinked, he blinked too. The next painting showed a woman wearing a dress from the last century. Her neck was marked by something like a rope further ahead. A boy, too young to be there. His eyes were big and wet, and by God, I heard a tear runs down the frame. My feet locked in the darkest corner of the wall. A large painting, covered by a dusty cloth. The only frame that looked new. And I didn't want to see. But the curtain fell on its own. There it was, my face. Younger, with a sheriff's star on his chest. And a look I no longer recognized. The portrait wasn't just by an image. It was a window. I blinked. The painting me blinked too. I tilted my head. The painting followed suit. But then she smiled, and that smile wasn't mine. It was the smile of the man who crossed the line. The one who pulled the trigger on an innocent man. The one who didn't cry at his own daughter's funeral. The one who accepted dirty gold to forget worse crimes. That portrait knew everything and hadn't represent me. He condemned me. I felt the air change, as if the place recognized me. A strong gust of wind blasted inside the saloon, shaking the doors, making the frames bang against each other. Some portraits fell, others turned over on their own. And when I looked around, everyone, LL Portraits now, had my face. I stared at that portrait for too long. It was me, but it wasn't. It was the part of me I left buried in every unsolved crime, every bought silence, every body I laid to rest without praying. Saloon High wasn't just a place. It was a mirror. a sanctuary of sins. I started walking in circles, trying to understand, but the tables were no longer in the same place. The chairs had shifted, as if the place had rewritten me. And then I heard a low laugh. It was mine, but it didn't come from my mouth. It came from behind the counter, and then a phrase, whispered, almost familiar. "Now you understand." My throat went dry. The clock started ticking again. 3 and 13. Again, the same time. Always. It was as if time there was spinning in a circle. Trapped with me. The truth fell like lead into my chest. I didn't go into that saloon. I went back. I came back because I had already been there. Because that place was not a place, was the sentence. A purgatory made of wood. Portraits and memories that stink of dust. Maybe I never left. Maybe I never died. Maybe I've been part of the saloon all along. And now he showed me the truth. I was the portrait that smiled at whoever entered. I was the frame that held the memory. And every story I tell is just another painting hanging on the walls that no one visits anymore. I tried to run, but the ground stretched out like a living tongue. Each step pulled me back, as if the saloon refused to let me leave. The paintings began to fall from the walls one by one, and behind them, nail marks, as if someone or many had tried to escape from within the frames. The air grew thick, my lungs burned, and then I saw a figure at the back of the hall, tall, wearing a hat, with the sheriff's star identical to mine. But the face, it was my distorted, as if it had been melted from the inside. That other me raised his hand and, with a gesture, all the paintings climbed back up onto the walls by themselves. The eyes in each portrait glowed red. I heard screams, hundreds, mixed with laughter, whispers, wails, and among them all, one voice stood out, my daughter's voice. "Father, why didn't you protect me?" My knees gave way. My revolver fell to the floor without a sound. Time froze. Everything went black. And when I opened my eyes, I was sitting at the same table, where I've always been. The glass in front of me. The paintings are all in place, but now there, with another stranger walking through the door, an ordinary man, with fear in his eyes, and the portraits, they were already changing again, because that saloon doesn't hold the dead. He feeds on the living, one by one, just like he did with me. And that's how I understood it. The saloon was never just wood and walls. He was a hole between worlds, a sanctuary for forgotten sinners, a place where time does not forgive, it only repeats. And me, I am the guardian of the stories that no one wants to remember. The midnight watchman, the sheriff of a place that even the map doesn't recognize anymore. People think ghosts are made of sheets and screams, but no, they are made of guilt, silence, and memories that refuse to die. And when someone new walks into that saloon, I know the clock strikes, the dust shifts, the glass fills, and another story begins. Maybe yours, someone you tried to forget. But be careful, because There are places that don't want to be remembered, and names that don't want to be said. My name is Elias, Blackthorn, Judge Sheriff of Nowhere, and this, which just the first story, the clock has already struck. 3:13, the time when time decides what stays, and what disappears with the wind. If you've made it this far, maybe you're already hearing what I hear, maybe. Tonight, to dream of a saloon door opening by itself, and a portrait that changes. If this happens, don't look at him, at least, not yet. There's still time. There are still more stories, and I will be here. I always will be. Waiting now here. Until next time, outsider, be careful. The next story is calling on the screen. Click before it knocks on your door.